Taiwan will be tightening border controls for arrivals from China starting January 1st. Travelers will be required to take a PCR test upon arriving in Taiwan. The measure comes as China moves to further relax its own COVID measures starting January 8th, despite a huge surge in COVID cases in the country.
Since Taiwan's border remains closed to Chinese tourists, the stricter measures will mostly affect Taiwanese nationals working in China who return to Taiwan for the Lunar New Year. About 30,000 people are expected to travel from China to Taiwan during that period.
CECC head Victor Wang inspects Taoyuan International Airport. Though COVID is surging in China, Beijing has announced it's doing away with quarantines for international arrivals starting January 8th. Over in Taiwan, the CECC has decided to tighten border controls for arrivals from China who will have to do a saliva-based PCR upon landing in Taiwan.
Since there are more infections in China, there's a great chance of mutations too. Taiwanese nationals returning from China who get infected should get diagnosed, medicated, and treated as soon as possible. We're implementing new measures.
Though Taiwan's border is still closed to Chinese tourists, about 30,000 people are expected to enter Taiwan from China over the Lunar New Year. The CECC's tighter border controls will enter into effect on January 1st. Passengers flying into Taiwan or taking ferries to Jingwen and Matsu will be required to take a saliva-based PCR test upon arrival. After that, they will undergo 7 days of self-health management, just like arrivals from other places. Passengers whose tests come back positive will have to isolate for 5 days, as is the case for people infected locally.
We're still not opening up the border to Chinese tourists, so these rules mostly apply to Taiwan nationals returning for the Lunar New Year.
Some Taiwanese nationals living in China have already returned for the upcoming holidays. Here's what they have to say about the COVID situation across the strait.
There are very few people on the streets. Christmas didn't feel like Christmas. It was all like a ghost town, really.
On Wednesday, Taiwan added 27,942 local COVID infections, the second consecutive day with more than 20,000 cases. One expert says infections may peak at the end of January.
The wave could peak around the end of January, exceeding 30,000 cases per day, or even exceeding 50,000. That's not completely impossible.
Other countries such as Japan and South Korea have announced tightened restrictions for travelers arriving from China, and now under the Executive Yuan's recommendation, the CECC has followed suit.